We're going to talk about the 3 things that come about if you didn't match. What's up, guys? My name is Dr. Safo Asante. I'm the successful IMG, successful because I matched. I'm here so that you can as well. I like to release videos on a weekly basis about anything that I'm interested in, about things that are going on in my life, things that I am trying to achieve, things that I have achieved, and of course, things that will guide you along your path in healthcare. Your path to become a doctor, your path to become a nurse, your path to become a physician assistant. These are the things that I talk about in this channel. Today's video, I'm going to talk about the match of 2022, because that's where we are, guys, right now. We are in the match season of 2022. The match season of 2021 is over. For those of you that made it, congratulations, you did really good. For those of you that were my students that ended up making it after not making it a couple of times beforehand, congratulations to you. For those of you that made it, that were my students that did not have any prior match attempts but still made it in the first attempt because you were with me, congratulations to you as well. I'm so proud of all of you guys. I wish you guys the best of luck when you start your residency. The journey you start, it's a painful journey, but it's well worth it in the long run. All right, for those of you that unfortunately did not match, there are 3 things that can shoot you in the foot and make it more difficult for you to match in the next season. So I want you guys to pay attention to this. If you are watching this video and you're a medical student and you haven't even taken your steps, you're way ahead of the ball. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep watching my videos. Keep staying on top of things so that you don't end up in a position where you don't match. The first thing, the very first thing that happens if you don't match is, 1, you fall into an emotional spectrum. And this spectrum is the sadness to depression spectrum. And if it's your first time that you didn't match, you might get sad. If it's your second time that you didn't match, you might get depressed. Now, you get depressed because you didn't achieve the goal that you set for yourself. And that makes sense. That's understandable. But that's where it should end. Unfortunately, something else creeps in as well. And that adds to the sadness, also adds to depression. And that's that you are not good enough. What a lot of people don't really get is that to get to the position that you got to get to the place where you've gotten to at the moment, you finished medical school, you've passed your exams, maybe you failed an exam, but you eventually passed it, and you are at this position where you're applying for residency. To get to this position is extremely hard. And to get to this position takes a lot of intelligence, takes a lot of dedication, takes a lot of smarts. So if you've made it this far, don't ever tell yourself that you're not good enough. Don't ever tell yourself that you are not worth it just because you didn't match. Now, it's extremely difficult for you to fight these emotions, which is why you want to make sure that you avoid not matching in the first place. If that was the only thing, sure, then that's not that bad, but that's not the only thing that can happen to you when you're depressed. When you're depressed, you're not putting your right foot forward. You're not being as aggressive as you could. Take this scenario. Oh, I didn't match. I'm not good enough. I'm just going to apply to a few programs this time. No. Just because you didn't match and you think that it's difficult for you to match means that you're going to apply to less programs than usual. You're not going to be as aggressive as you can. No, that's not where you should be. And unfortunately, when you're depressed, this is how your depression ends up affecting you, even if you're not paying attention. Maybe not necessarily in the amount of programs you apply to, but in the aggression that you bring towards the application season. You're not as aggressive as you could be doing the things that you need to be. For instance, me personally, when I am shooting for a position, now this might sound a little bad. I like people that get easily swayed when they make a mistake. Because even if they have better scores than me, I can overtake them. Here's a story. I play video games, FIFA to be specific. As a child, I used to play FIFA with friends, cousins, family, blah, 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 whatever it is. There was somebody that I would play against, and this person was better than me in FIFA. However, I knew that so long as I made things difficult for him, he would have negative self-talk and get frustrated, and then everything else is downhill. So when I played with him, I just made my main goal was to frustrate him and score first. Once I did those things, he started making more mistakes. I scored a second one, and it becomes an easy win. And that's called using strategy to win. Okay? And not only that, that's allowing emotions to not make you put your best foot forward. And when you're going against other people that are putting their best foot forward all the time, you end up losing. Now, I help people to match into residency. That's my job. When I applied for residency, I had to apply 3 times, and I got in on the 3rd time. And the things that I went through, the lessons that I learned, is what I use to help other people to match into residency. If you've had a hard time matching into residency, shoot me an email, add me on Instagram, subscribe to the channel. Even if you don't, shoot me an email, watch these videos, learn whatever you can from them, and make the best of it so that you can match. What are the things that you can do to try to prevent this sadness or depression? There's not really much that you can do to prevent the sadness. I mean, sometimes you just gotta let yourself feel an emotion. Now, you just have to make sure that the emotion does not break you. So if you're feeling really sad and it's affecting the way you would usually act, then you should speak to somebody. Speak to somebody. Sometimes just speaking about things helps. And if it gets to the point where it's clinical depression, then you need to probably see a doctor. Okay? But you have to be proactive about things. Try not to get to the position where you're stressed. So be as aggressive as you can so you don't end up in this position. But if you do end up in this position, make sure it doesn't get to the point where it affects you. Okay. The second thing that can happen if you don't match, that can also shoot you in the foot, is that you lose time. If you don't match one season, you push the chance that the time that you will start residency 1 year back. And the time that you would have become an attendant, which would be maybe like 3 years later, 5 years later, depending on the residency fellowship that you're doing, you push that back an extra 1 year. And not only are you pushing back the times 1 year, you're also shooting yourself in the foot each time you don't match. Because each time you don't match, your year of graduation grows a little bit longer. And those of you that have applied before, and those of you that have know a decent amount about the match, you know that not having a good year of graduation is a red flag. Not having a good year of graduation can shoot you in the foot. It's important that you try to put your best foot forward from the moment that you start. It's important that you're as aggressive as you can from the moment that you start. Now, I had a student recently finished medical school, but still wanted to be as aggressive as she could to make sure that she got herself a position. She contacted me for help. I helped her, and she ended up matching, even though she had blemishes on the record. Now, the blemish on your record is not who you are. It's helped you become stronger, but it's not who you are. You are not that mistake that you made. And you shouldn't let it get to the point where that mistake that you made is holding you back. It's important that you work aggressively, and you do the best that you can so that you don't push everything back and you don't make things harder for yourself, because your year of graduation keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. And eventually it's going to get to the point where this guy's been applying all these times, or this guy graduated so long ago and now he's applying. What's going on? The third thing that happens after you don't match that can also hurt you is that you lose money. Each time you apply to residency, you're applying to a certain amount of programs, and you're applying to whatever, like 100 programs, 200 programs, whatever it is that you're applying to. You're spending upwards of $3,000 to like $5,000, $6,000. Some people spend $7,000, $8,000 on an application season. Last year, you guys were lucky. You were lucky because you didn't have to spend money on an airplane, you didn't have to spend money on room and board, you don't have to spend money on a car to get you to a residency program. So you saved a lot of money that way, but it's still expensive. So each time you don't match, it's basically doubling the amount of money that you end up spending. Or if you only had a set amount of money saved, then if your money's almost run out, then you can't apply to the right amount of programs that you need to apply to, and then you end up not matching because you didn't apply to the right amount of programs, or you didn't apply to the program that was going to take you because you didn't have the right amount of money. So it's a difficult situation to be in. Now, these three things that are talked about: 1, that you get sad; 2, that you lose money; 3, that you lose time. All these three things, even though they're little things, they hurt you and make it more difficult for you to end up matching. They put you in a position where you're in a catch-22, and it keeps happening over and over and over and over and over again. And it gets worse and it gets worse and it gets worse. Now, the reason why I mention these things is not to make you depressed, it's not to make you sad, it's to make you aware of these things, so that when they do happen, or when things like this happen, you're aware that these things can happen, you know that they can happen, that you can recognize these things, and then you can avoid having these things affect you badly. Changing your mentality in terms of the way you approach things goes a very long way, guys. For those of you that watched the end of the video, I appreciate that. Those of you that have been following along for many months now, I appreciate that. For those of you that like my videos, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. And I hope that whatever endeavor it is that you are trying to achieve, that you are able to achieve that endeavor. And for those of you that are applying for the match season of 2022, I wish you guys the best of luck. Dr. Safo Asante, out.